Hi everyone, Angela here. I want to make double-folded bias tape out of some of this fabric. To do this, I'll need to cut the fabric along the bias, which is a 45-degree angle. I don't want to cut across the entire width of the fabric and waste it, so I'm going to cut out what's known as a fat quarter. It's half the width of half a yard of fabric. They usually measure about 22 inches wide by 18 inches long. Square off the bottom edge if you need to, and remove the selvage. Lift the bottom left corner and match the side and top edges together and crease along the bias. Rotate the fabric so that the bias is straight up and down. Fold in half and then fold again, making sure that all the bias edges line up. Carefully trim away 1/4 inch along the fold. For 1/2 inch wide bias tape, we need to cut the strips 4 times as wide at 2 inches. Cut the strips nice and straight using lots of pressure on the ruler. Open up all the strips, and I don't use the really short ones. Most of the ends will have a 45-degree angle. Any that don't, just place a strip on top and cut the same shape. Match up the angles like this to join the ends. You'll need to place them with right sides together. I'm just going to draw the 1/4 inch stitch line so that you can see what I'm doing. Now when you put the ends together, you don't want to match it point to point. Instead, slide it over so that the ends of the stitch line meet at the sides. Pin or clip together if you need to, and then repeat for the opposite angle. You can just join all the ends at the machine or pin all together first so that you can spread out the shorter pieces. I'm using the Juki TL-2010Q sewing machine. The link for this and the tools I use are down in the description below. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, click the link for Echidna Sewing and Juki Junkies for North America. Hold on to both threads and start by sewing a couple of stitches. Push the corner where the fabric meets right into the needle. Using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, stitch right across to the other corner where the fabric meets. There's no need to backtack. When you stitch exactly where the fabric meets, what you get are nice straight edges on both sides of the strip. Now if you don't sew where the fabric meets, what you get are edges that are stepped and uneven. A tiny little bit is okay, but you don't want it to look like this. Use snips or scissors to cut and separate the seams, or use the blade on the back of your machine. I even have a quick thread cutter that conveniently sits on the table. Next, press all the seams open flat. Then trim away all the corners from each side. I'm using a 1 inch or 25mm bias tape maker. You feed the strip through this wider end, and then it gets folded to half the width out this other end. With the fabric wrong side up, push in the strap on an angle and carefully pull it out from the other end. The sides should be equally turned in with a small gap in the center. I turn off the steam from my iron so that I don't burn myself. Press the entire length, and of course this is a lot faster with a larger iron. You can also pin the end down to the ironing board to make it a little easier. If you're finding this video helpful, make sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and leave a comment below. As always, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from. When you get to a join, you want to make sure that the seam stays flat when it goes into the tape maker and stays flat when it gets turned and pressed. Now fold the strap in half again, matching the folded edges, and press. That little gap in the middle allows you to fold it easily and also get a nice crease. So from that small piece of fabric, I was able to make about 5 yards of 1/2 inch wide, double-folded bias binding. This width is a little bit easier to work with, so make sure you watch my video I'll have soon where I use it to make a simple pot holder. Thanks again for watching, and see you there.